We're here with Michael McDowell. Michael, I appreciate you joining us here for Around the Turn. And we're here at Darlington.
Yeah.
And this is a very historic track.
For sure.
And I know you've had a couple of top 10 finishes here. So take our listeners and our viewers here around the Speedway. What's it like driving around this track?
Well, I mean, the first thing is it's very unique. It's not shaped like any other racetrack that we go to. And, you know, people think about circles, and they think about, oh, you guys just go around in circles. But it's not a circle. This is not an oval. It's not even really an egg. You know, some people call it an egg. It's very unique shaped, but a high banked. And high bank to us just means a lot of grip and a lot of speed. And it's just one of those places where even my very first race here, very first time I came here, is like when you drive into the tunnel, it's intimidating. It's just a racetrack that seems to eat a lot of race cars and drivers. And the year that I came here was in 2008. That was my first year as a repave, and it was so fast. And at the time, then you had to have a rookie orientation here, like you would at Indianapolis or you would at Daytona. They wouldn't just let you go race. This was one of those racetracks where you had to go through a rookie program, which was nice because I got some extra laps, but just super intimidating and intimidating for that reason too. When they're like, hey, look, you have to actually go here and get approved before you can race here. And so, you know, it's fast, it's right on the limit, and even though the racetrack appears to be wide, the groove is very narrow, and it's right up against the wall, and you just get into this, I almost want to say like euphoric is the only way I can describe it, where you get a little bit of that tunnel vision, and you're just running right against the wall, and everything else kind of gets blurry, and you're just kind of locked in. And so it's a unique experience for a driver. You know, for a fan too. I've sat in the grandstands and watched Xfinity races and watched the trucks race, and you know, it's the cars slide around and they're moving around, so it's a unique experience.
And that's something, you know, maybe for the casual fan who's not, or just now getting into the sport, this is a track that really requires attention because it eats up the tires, but then again, you're trying to race up against the wall and maybe scrape it but not hit it because then it damages your car. So it does take a lot of attention to detail. It's a throwback racetrack in that sense of you have to manage the night, you have to manage the race, and it's very easy to make a mistake, and tires wear out, and you have lots of pit stops because the tires wear out, and if a caution comes out, everybody's pitting, and it's just kind of part of what Darlington is. And it's that South Carolina DOT aggregate that tears up tires, and I think it's seashells or something you guys put in here, right? So, you know, it's very unique in that sense of wearing out tires, and so a lot of times you race the racetrack, you're not pushing the car to 110% because you know that it's going to eat the tires or you're going to make a mistake. And so it's this finesse, it's this balance of how aggressive you want to be versus, you know, is this going to be a long run, and can you save something for the end? So where a lot of the races that we do now are just hammer down, flat out, as fast as you can go, every single lap, as hard as you can push, tires don't wear. This still has that feel to it where you gotta have some finesse. And do you like it as a driver where the tires are failing and the car is a little bit more loose and not as much grip?
Yes and no. You like it because you feel like you're in more control and you can manipulate the speed of the car better or easier, but it's daunting. I mean, it just is. It's a nerve-wracking. Your nerves are shot at the end of this race because you're just hanging on and you're fighting it, but it is fun. It is fun, but it's draining for sure.
Yeah. You're known for your road course ability, and I would also say your super speed ability. Winner of Daytona 500. You won at the Indianapolis road course. What makes you so good on super speedways and road courses? Because those are two totally different things.
Yeah, that's a great question. Road courses is easy. It's what I grew up doing. It's the style of racing that I did to get here, and it's sort of a unique path. It's not the traditional path. So I didn't grow up racing at the local short tracks and racing dirt cars or, you know, even racing on ovals. It was all road courses. So that part of it's easy to explain. It's what I've always done. The super speedways was so foreign and so different for me. And I remember the first few super speedways that I did, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. You know, you were 3 and 4 wide and 10 rows deep, and you couldn't go anywhere, and you felt trapped, and you're just sitting there thinking, oh, we're going to crash. Like, what are we doing? We're all going to crash. It's going to happen. And, you know, a lot of times I'd hear, you know, fans or media or even other drivers talk about how, oh, you just got to be lucky at those places. And I'm data driven. I've always been like that. I'm always an analyzer, and I study video and I study data. And what I realized was that really wasn't the case. The guys that ran good at Daytona and Talladega ran good there all the time. And I'm like, that can't be. They can't just be that lucky, right? Like, what is it that allows these core group of drivers to always be up front, always contending for wins or getting top fives? It can't just be that they happen to miss their wrecks all the time. I mean, Brad Keselowski's won 7 times at Talladega. There's no way he's that lucky. He can't be that lucky. Like, there's something that he's got to be doing. You know, Denny Hamlin winning, you know, 3 Daytona 500s. And, you know, you just go through the list, and, you know, there's a group of guys that always are near the front. And so I just took the approach of, like, I'm not very good at it, and I don't love it, but I'm going to study it and figure out how I could be better. And I found a group of those guys that I studied, and I tried to find what they did and what they didn't do, and, you know, watched their in-car cameras, looked at data, how they approach it, how do they miss the wrecks, you know, where are they positioned when they miss the wrecks, and, you know, what are they, you know, where are they trying to get to? And some guys would ride in the back, some guys would ride in the front. You just learn all these sort of nuances, and by becoming a student, I kind of fell in love with it. And then once that happened, I started to get okay at it. Then I got pretty good at it, and now I feel like consistently when I go to a super speedway, I have a shot at winning the race. And it took me a while to get there, but, you know, it's just really studying it.
And going to Daytona Talladega, now we have Echo Park Motor Speedway. Speedway.
The hybrid, I call it.
Hybrid. Yeah, it's not your typical Daytona Talladega, but you still have drafting involved.
Yeah, it is truly a hybrid because it is not Talladega. It is not Daytona. There are some things that apply, you know, the draft and how you suck up and inside draft and maybe a little bit of the car's balance and feel. But it's so unique because it's still a mile and a half. It's still less grip than those places. You still slide more. You're out of the gas more. So I find Atlanta to be a lot of fun. It's definitely a challenge because it's unique. It's, to me right now, it's a one of a kind. There's nothing like it. And it takes this hybrid, this mix of your car still has to drive good, and you got to be able to be aggressive with the steering wheel and pull down and pull up and make big moves. But at the same time, you need speed like you do at Daytona and Talladega. So it's going to be interesting this weekend for sure.
Michael McDowell, a driver that comes into some underdog teams, Levine Family Racing. You really excelled that program. I think you finished 4th in the Brickyard 400.
Yeah.
Then you go to Front Row Motorsports, where they've had history of being up and down, but you were so solid in that 34 car for a couple of years. I feel like you are a guy that comes in and makes a place better. How do you do that?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like, you know, that is one thing that has helped me for sure is being able to go and hopefully elevate a program, and that lets you have a job. And, you know, and a lot of it is out of necessity, right? Like, you want to run good and you want to compete at a high level. And what's allowed me to have some success with that is a few things. It's people. It's not me. I mean, I'm not a guru. I'm not the genius behind it. But I do know that putting the right people together and attitude and effort, it changes everything. And having a relentless pursuit at trying to be better and trying to be great, and at places where a lot of times the mentality is just like, well, we're not that, but we can be. You know, that's my mindset. Yeah, we're not today, but we will be. You know, we're not winning today, but we're going to be. And just always having that mindset and trying to push to the next level. And, you know, I feel like, you know, those are tough to do, but we've been able to have success doing that. And I think, again, like different than Front Row, I was brought to Spire to do that. I mean, that was part of why they hired me. They're like, look, you're good at that. Come do that. And so it's been fun to have more of that freedom to really be a part of the process and highlight some of the areas that I feel like are really important and where we got to be strong. And it's been great because we brought in a tremendous amount of really, really good people, and Spire was already pretty well established too. So it's been fun, and I think we still have a lot in front of us. I think that people will say I'm crazy, and they said I was crazy when I left 34. Is we will win races this year, and in the next 3 years we'll contend for a championship. Might not be me, it might be Carson, it might be Justin Haley, right? But our program will contend for a championship in the next 3 years.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is you go to Spire Motorsports, which is a building team. You're able to bring your crew chief with you.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, I mean, you guys were 20 laps away at Texas from winning that track. I mean, you guys are there already.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you and Carson both have been spectacular this year. The brakes haven't went your way, but what is it like driving for Spire?
It's been fun. I mean, it's been fun just because we are starting to see some of that speed and that opportunity to win races, even though we haven't done it. But I think more than anything, I love the culture over there. We have good leadership, and there is depth, even though we're a small team. That's probably the biggest difference, the surprise. And, I'm never throwing jabs. I love my time at Front Row, and I love Bob Jenkins and Jerry Freese. But Spire has, aspirations to be bigger and to do more, and they're set up to do that. And so there's more depth to management and the business side and marketing side and sales side and PR side, and so there's a lot of these foundational blocks that are already sort of built out, and they just needed the performance to take it to the next level. Where at Front Row, it felt like our performance was like the driving factor, but then we needed some of those foundational things to sustain it and to keep it going. So I feel like we're positioned really well for success. Like, even though we're not having it yet, we're positioned well for it, and we'll be able to sustain it. But I enjoy the process. I enjoy the grind. I enjoy the figuring it out together, and so to me that's fun. And there's pressure, right? There's always pressure to perform, but I think about these guys that drive for Joe Gibbs Racing or Hendrick Motorsports or Team Penske. Chase Briscoe said it really well. Like, I didn't enjoy this win that much because it's expected. Right. And I love that. I love that it is expected. He's driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. It is expected. And that comes with pressure, for sure. But it also can rob the fun of the process, right? And so I love the process. I think, going from 25th to 20th to 15th to 10th to 5th to having a shot at winning races is fun. It's fun to go through that process. Sometimes it takes longer than you'd hope, but you're enjoying each step. And we still have a couple bigger steps in front of us, but we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, I honestly believe you guys are on the brink of doing that any week now. You've got to do a little truck racing this year.
Yeah.
How's that been?
I haven't done that well, but I've enjoyed it. I've only driven a truck twice in my entire career. One at Martinsville, and I hopped in, filling in for somebody at New Hampshire. Didn't even have my own seat. So this year's been fun. I did Daytona and I did Atlanta, both drafting tracks, but the trucks drive really different. And so, yeah, it's been fun. Hopefully I'll have one or two more. I'm going to run Watkins Glen in the truck, which will be fun in a road course.
Winner right there.
I've never driven a truck on a road course, so that'll be unique for me. But the Spire truck program is excelling right now too. We saw Raja win a few weeks ago. Carson probably should have won 4 already. Yeah. Kyle won in Atlanta, and so the truck program is doing what it's set out to do. I mean, that program. You got some really, really good guys on that truck program. We got Bono and Brian Patty, and you just go down the list, and you look around our truck program, and there's a lot of cup winners on that truck program, and a lot of guys that I worked with over the last 20 years. So it's good to have a successful program.
I want to end on one last question, and it's a question that I admire about you. Your faith means a lot to you, and I appreciate that. I feel like God's given you a platform. What is that platform like for you? I see you doing invocations for the trucks, and you're doing morning services before the race. I mean, God's given you a platform to spread His word, and I think that's just the coolest thing.
It is cool, and it honestly, it was hard for me to embrace at first. You know, I wanted to live out my faith authentically, and I didn't know what that looked like in sports. I didn't know, what that should look like. And, I wanted to be true to myself. I wanted to be true to my faith, but I didn't want it to be like my thing. I didn't want to be the Tim Tebow of NASCAR. That's not what I was shooting for. I want to win races. I want to be the Tony Stewart or the Jeff Gordon or the Jimmy Johnson of NASCAR that happens to be, a Christian and living out his faith. So I didn't really know my place at first. And so I was trying to figure out what that looks like. And but, I think over years and as you sort of just learn, like, this is the platform that God's given me, and I should, be open and willing. And I think that's the approach that I took, is like, I'm not going to just try to be that guy, but I'm going to be open and I'm going to be willing. And so, these opportunities have come up, and, to share your faith and share your testimony. And then, as that starts to build momentum, then you get more and more requests of like, can you come do this? Can you come do that? Can you come do this? And so I've just been more open with it, because I feel like you said, that this is, I get paid to drive around in circles. It's awesome. It's a dream come true. But at the end of the day, it's just what I do. It's not who I am. It's just what I do, and I love what I do, and I'm so thankful for it. But your legacy is going to be, your family and your friends and your kids and who you are as a person and how you lived out your life. And so, trophies, we look around, they're awesome. They're cool, and I'm so thankful for them. But trophies make terrible gods. I mean, they just do. And so, just having the opportunity to share, what is meaningful and what is purpose and, what is legacy. And, that looks different for a lot of us. But I feel like, I continue to be open and say yes. And so I've definitely enjoyed that process of getting more comfortable in my faith and in my own skin of, being open to share and to live it out.
Well, Michael, I appreciate your time with this Daytona 500 champion. We're rooting for you and hope the best for you for the rest of this year. And I think we'll see you in the playoffs this year.
I hope so. Thank you. I appreciate it.